right there. It is Taipei. Air raid sirens being tested in the capital city of Taiwan. Also, joint air and sea military exercises were conducted on Monday. This is all a response to concerns over a forceful Chinese response if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visits Taiwan this summer. And also, developing just moments ago, Bloomberg is reporting Pelosi's office official itinerary does not include a stop in Taiwan, but again, it could change closer to her August departure. A lot to get to, and joining us first now with the latest and what's happening in Taiwan is correspondent Keone Everton, who is in Taipei. Keone, what can you tell us about what you're seeing there?
Well, there's a lot of activity. Actually, I would say this is possibly the most intense I've seen it since I've lived here over the past 8 years. Because what we have is the air raids, air raid drills that you saw, and that's going on the whole week. And that's sort of Monday here in Taipei, and it's different sections across the country. Then we also have the live fire drills that are going through the whole week, and but at the same time, and those are all different parts of the country. In the west side, that was when they were practicing with retreating in case the air bases were hit, moving to the east. On Tuesday, it was practicing on the east side if they were being attacked from the sea, from the east. And today, it was practicing from the island of Jingmen, firing artillery, and in the south, practicing with paratroopers. And then at the same time, though, we're having the Chinese doing their intrusions in the ADIZ in the southwest and south of the ADIZ area of Taiwan. And then there was a drone that flew off to the east coast of Taiwan, a Chinese drone. And then there was also there's been multiple sightings of Chinese military ships off to the east and southeast of the country. So that's kind of close to where some of these exercises are going on. There's also been U.S. naval ships, Japanese naval ships.
Obviously, it is obviously destabilizing, and like you said, more activity you've seen there in what is usually a very calm area of Taipei. Keone Everton, live for us in Taiwan at this hour. Keep us posted. Thank you so much for that update.
Thank you.
All right, we want to bring in the author of The Great U.S.-China Tech War right now, Gordon Chang, to discuss Nancy Pelosi's visit. Gordon, always great to talk to you.
Thank you so much, John.
Well, Bloomberg says that Pelosi's itinerary does not include a stop in Taiwan, but the issue here is that the perception that we know China doesn't want Nancy Pelosi to go there, and there's been this talk of her visiting. So if she doesn't go to Taiwan, it looks like China's got a big say in what American foreign policy looks like.
Not only a big say, John, but I'd say a veto over American foreign policy. And that's what Beijing is trying to do. You know, when President Biden last Wednesday talked about how the U.S. military didn't want her to go, what he was really saying to Beijing was, there is disarray in my administration, there's disagreement, why don't you weigh in? And Chinese threats became even more provocative after that comment. So we can understand that this is now a test of wills. And at least if the Bloomberg reporting is correct, it means that Beijing now determines U.S. foreign policy.
President Biden and Xi Jinping are scheduled to speak tomorrow, and it's been 4 months since their last conversation. I would imagine this visit with Pelosi will come up.
I'm sure that it will come up, but Biden shouldn't be taking the call. I mean, we know, we've been talking to China for decades. Biden, this would be the 5th conversation that he'd have with Xi Jinping. Chinese behavior is getting worse. You know, Beijing knows when not to talk to an interlocutor. We need to learn that same skill. This is a time not to talk to China. This is a time for us to impose costs on Beijing, to give them incentive to deal with us in good faith in the future, because they're not dealing with us in good faith right now.
Now, I also want to talk to you, Gordon, about these land purchases by the CCP, ostensibly in the United States, 200,000 acres of farmland from Del Rio, Texas, all the way north to Montana. The federal government is now investigating these Chinese land grabs. We've talked too about Huawei and cell phone towers capable of intercepting communications. Some of these purchases are near U.S. military bases with nuclear arsenals and drone technology. What do you think China is really up to here?
Well, China wants to capture signals that are close to that emanate from U.S. Air Force bases, including Grand Forks Air Force Base in North Dakota, where that Chinese food processing company, Fufeng Group, wants to build a $700 million corn milling plant. We saw the same thing near Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas. There are Chinese listening posts with regard to F.E. Warren in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And then, of course, the revelations about Huawei in Montana. We know what China wants to do. This is our country. We can protect ourselves. But we have an administration, and even previous administrations have known about this danger, but not done anything about it.
Do we need to ban any Huawei technology on U.S. soil? Same thing, people say we need to ban TikTok as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there should be no Huawei equipment in the United States at all. And right now, it is not illegal to do that. The only thing that you can't do is use federal money to buy Huawei equipment to put in a network. But if you use your own money, you can do that. That's a known U.S. security threat. I don't understand why the president of the United States just doesn't, by executive order, because we know he likes to use his executive pen. Why doesn't he just ban this altogether? This is a known, obvious threat. To me, it's inexplicable.
I guess the answer, Gordon, is that he knows it would infuriate China, and Joe Biden and his administration and so many other people in that camp seem to be so scared about angering China for some reason. We don't know exactly why, but it doesn't look like they're holding them to account. I mean, we talked about these land purchases as well, and we're going to give CNN some credit for this reporting that they did here. The Chinese government apparently offered to spend $100 million on an ornate Chinese garden in Washington, D.C. The FBI, to their credit as well, killed the project that would have had pergolas all over, close to the nation's capital there. I mean, this probably was a bad idea from the get-go.
It certainly was. And it was a bad idea to give the Chinese government approval to build their embassy on another hill in Washington, D.C., where they could surveil communications across the Capitol. I don't think China should have an embassy in Washington, full stop. I mean, if they want an ambassador there, they can have a single family residence. But what we have done is allowed them to house thousands of spies on our soil, within miles of the Pentagon. Just to me, this is inexplicable.
Gordon Chang, always great to talk to you. Look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks so much, John.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. I want to tell you about the Patriot Gold Group. But first, let me tell you that the S&P has already lost $8.2 trillion in 2022. Did you know that? Peak inflation is not even hit despite the Fed rate hikes on groceries, on gas. You know it as well as I do. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are warning of another 20% drop. Inflation is winning in a knockout right now. The Fed is going to raise rates again at the end of July. Meanwhile, Goldman, Wells Fargo, and Bloomberg are all forecasting gold to surpass all-time highs. If you want to invest in gold, call 888-936-2373 now. Call the Patriot Gold Group today and ask about their no-fee-for-life IRA. Sounds like a good deal, don't it? Here's the number, 888-936-2373. 888-936-2373 for the Patriot Gold Group.